99% of the Earth's species are extinct. This is tragic. So much loss of species has occurred through extinction that there are many creatures lost to history that we know nothing about. However, luckily, there have been occasions that species that were believed to be extinct were rediscovered. Recently, a Fernandina Giant Tortoise was spotted on the Galapagos island of Fernandina, the first time since 1906 that the reptile was seen. Then there's the Wallace's giant bee, which was spotted in Indonesia for the first time since 1981. One of my favourite creatures, the Tasmanian tiger or Thylacine, was captured in a photo by farmer Peter Groves of Clifton Springs, Victoria, which appears to show the long lost animal. Another beast of the past that I like, which could still be with us, is the moa. Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on history and mystery. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss a video again. The moa was or is an ostrich-like flightless bird native to New Zealand. There were many species of moa, with estimates varying from 9 to 64 different types. Among these species, the birds varied in size, being about the same proportion as a turkey to being larger than an ostrich. Some examples stood as tall as 10 feet in height and weighed in at 250 kilograms, about 550 pounds. The name for these behemoths, moa, comes from the Polynesian word for fowl or bird. This avian giant was said to be a fast runner, which, when cornered, would defend itself using kicks. I think it could be compared to the cassowary, a large flightless bird still found in Australia and Papua New Guinea today. These birds have killed. They use the 10cm dagger-like claw they have on each foot to slice open any predator or potential threat with a single, swift, brutal kick. Yet the moa, even with its great size and powerful legs, was still wiped out by man, or so it is claimed. Scientists say that the giant bird was eradicated by its contact with humans, and that no other natural occurrence like volcanic eruptions, climate changes or diseases were to blame. The giant bird's vanishing less than 200 years after the Polynesian settlers had arrived. Or did they? In the 1840s, Australian bird painter John Gould claimed that he saw a moa. He described seeing a bird that was the same as a giant kiwi, this occurring on the South Island of New Zealand. These giant kiwis were around a metre in height and had spurred feet. Gould's spurred feet description had matched those of fossilised moa footprints found on the North Island. Then, in 1978, a Japanese research team investigated the South Island to see if moas were still living in the area, but they didn't find any evidence of the animal's continued survival. An explanation for the sighting by Gould and others over the years claims that people who are reporting to have seen moas were exaggerating or seeing large individuals of known birds, such as cassowaries or emu. Others still argue that some small species of moa continue to survive to the present. They point to the evidence such as photos of moa footprints found in Fiordland and evidence elsewhere in New Zealand, which they say is proof that the extinct birds are still roaming the countryside. Rex Gilroy, the New South Wales natural science researcher, said he was closing in on a colony of the presumed extinct little scrub moa in the Arira Ranges. The cryptozoologist said he had evidence of a small colony surviving in the area. The researcher and his wife continue to search for the bird. They periodically find evidence but have yet to find definitive proof of a living population of moa. Others need more evidence. Hawke's Bay cryptozoology researcher Tony Lucas is keeping an open mind to the idea of moa still being alive in the region, being investigated by Gilroy. But he thinks the evidence he and his wife have found more likely point to emus. Expeditions Mr. Gilroy plans to carry out involve him and his team visiting another 8 sites throughout the South Island, all areas that have seen witnesses make reports of moa sightings. One sighting by some road workers tells of how the workers were sheltering from the heavy rain. They were in a shed waiting for the rain to stop, and on the edge of the jungle were 2 birds emerging from the bush, about 8 feet in height, and then they were chewing the leaves off trees. The men were sure they had witnessed living moa. The possibility of moas existing was also boasted by an Auckland hiker who auctioned off photos he claimed were of a moa. The photos, including images of footprints and of a 1.8 meter plus tall bird, were sold for more than $350 by the hiker, who goes under the seller name Andrew WDB on TradeMe. He described the encounter in the sales description of the online site, saying, "I was hiking in Fordland last Monday, and as I came over a rise, there in front of me was the largest bird I've ever seen." The auction started a lively debate, with one member amusingly stating, "All backcountry Kiwis know that the moa's alive and well. We just didn't want any bloody tourist finding out." Another witness named Paddy Threne claims to have spotted moa in the Craigburn Valley in Canterbury, and his story received international attention. He also had photographic evidence. The sighting and out-of-focus photograph of what the man said was a 2-meter running bird were taken seriously by the Department of Conservation. They investigated the pictures and then the location, but could not find any conclusive proof of the bird. However, there is still hope that we will one day see this bird again, even if it has become totally extinct. Much in the same way as many stories report on the plans of resurrecting mammoths, which do the rounds periodically, the same scientific efforts are being aimed toward the moa. Because moa were hunted to extinction recently, their feathers and eggs can still be found relatively intact. In fact, moa DNA has already been extracted from ancient eggshells, and projects to clone the moa have already been attempted. Revive and Restore, the non-profit conservation group, stated that de-extinction projects and the probability of the moa's return increases with every improvement in ancient DNA analysis. This technology also holds hope for other extinct animals, including some human relatives. Waiting in labs for advances in cloning and incubation are the nearly complete extinct genomes of the moa, the zebra-like quagga, the woolly mammoth, the passenger pigeon, and also includes 2 human relatives, Neanderthals and Denisovians. Scientists are also close to reconstructing the genomes of the dodo, the flightless bird that went extinct from Mauritius in the late 1600s, and they are working on bringing back the great auk, which lived in the North Atlantic before dying out in the mid-19th century. Researchers in Australia unveiled the genome of the Tasmanian tiger, the last of which died in captivity in 1936. It would seem that it is only a matter of time before these creatures once again get to roam the earth, and humanity repairs some of its mistakes from the past. What animal would you like to see brought back? Do they need to clone these creatures, or should they just try harder to find them? Are people really seeing long extinct animals? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.